How's it going, ladies and Bruce? Up, I'll be Sixkilla. Welcome back to the Divine Deception. Now, I intend to continue running through the paths that I've been enjoying the most so far, leaving the ones that I like the least till the very end, which I'm sure I'm going to regret when we get that far. But at this stage, we have to continue with Vel's because we don't have the key to continue with Mercury's path. So let's get back into Vel's, shall we? See what awaits us next now that we're with Polly Deismer. Spooked. So then they lay siege to the castle. Which, like, fair. They want to take over shit. They gotta actually take over shit. I respect that. But the main dude of the house orders the raiders to lay waste to all of the citizens to send a message. Which, fucking no indication to that lead up. Meanwhile, while the battle's going on in the house's lady ends up banging that older blacksmith guy. And I mean, first off, time and place, girl. Anyways, the main dude ends up getting hit in the neck with an arrow by the dipshit order kid from before. Revenge for his shitty father, I guess. But also the kid sucks too. He was a pompous jackass who was like incredibly entitled. Then, middle of battle, it just cuts away. Over onto the other side of the map, the Iron Queen strikes up an alliance with the Wolves to lay waste to all the other factions. But like, I don't like the Iron Queen. And I definitely don't think the Wolves would be good to lead. It's played as a triumphant moment, but in reality, it's like the team up between two allying villains. And then it just ends. Like, that's the note that they go out on. Sequel hook? I mean, obviously, but still. Usually you try to create some sort of conclusion. Just a bit of it so that people get the sense that they've read a finished chapter of the grander story or whatever. True. As it stands, they just sort of stopped in the middle of the proceedings. That's not a cliffhanger, that's just bad ending. Exactly. Now, I don't know. I'm kind of like, not really interested in seeing where it goes. Because at this point, it just kind of feels like a battle of arseholes. Everyone remotely good died pretty early on. And you know, maybe that can work. There's something to be said for watching arseholes go to war with each other. But when everyone's despicable in one way or another, I just struggle to find someone to latch onto. And without anyone to latch onto, how am I supposed to be invested? Maybe just try to root for the relatively least bad? That's sort of a meager aspiration to strive for, yeah? Sure. It was a familiar type of conversation, an unfamiliar situation. We talked many times about disappointing books, but never had we done so in the dead of the night in the middle of the forest. Oh well, sometimes it was just like that. Anyways, I might not have liked it all too much, but it did get me thinking. A rarity? Fuck off. That one was a softball. Fair enough. Anyways, no, I was thinking about what counts as good or bad. Pretty much all the main characters in the story were unquestionably horrible. I don't think there's much to argue on that part. But that kind of got me thinking. Everybody in the setup was horrible. In that case, does that kind of make none of them horrible? Huh? I don't follow. I mean, if everybody's acting bad, then maybe none of them are all that bad. Like, you sort of have to blame more of their environment than their personal failings at that point. Judging them by our morals of right and wrong might be a bad way of thinking about all of it. You're talking about relative morality. Am I? You are. Then I guess I'm talking about relative morality. So you're just going to dismiss everything bad that happens because of the standards of the setting. That's a dangerous slope of thinking. I'm not dismissing shit, and I'm not putting everything on just that. It's just, you know. The only other way to explain it is that every single person that was born in this setup happened to be born evil. And I don't like thinking about it that way. I like to think that humans aren't born evil with that frequency. So if you throw away that possibility, you have to say that good people could still do shitty things in that scenario. Well, you don't agree? I mean, you've got to factor in context. I'm not saying to ignore that. Nobody's saying that. But I'm also saying I don't like chalking away right and wrong to a matter of scales towards each other. I think there are some things that are just objectively bad, some things just objectively good. Not saying I can't have sympathy, that I don't acknowledge that it would be a lot harder to be good given your circumstances, but you do bad things, you're a bad person. Everything beyond that is just set dressing. Huh. You know, I didn't think you'd go this way on this, Bells. Truly, I'm a question wrapped inside an enigma. This kind of seems simplistic for you. Sometimes simplistic just means right. So you're saying that certain actions are bad, right? No ifs, ands, or buts. The actions are just bad. I don't think that's right. If you kill somebody in self-defense, it's not the same as murder. Those aren't the same actions. One is in self-defense, the other's murder. I mean, okay, fair. But can't there be... Oh, I know. Aren't there like different moral codes in different situations? Like honor among thieves. If you steal from a thief, and the thief steals back from you, it's kind of different from the thief stealing just from an innocent person. Those thieves have a sort of understanding between them. The stealing is just part of the thief's game when it's between thieves. You realise that's not what honour among thieves means, right? Oh, whatever. You get my point though, right? I get it, sure. I just don't think it holds up. You're saying criminals get their own moralities when interacting with each other. That if you're in the crime game, doing things to other people in the game is more permissible. Yeah, sort of like that. Then what? Is it cool to kill a killer? Is that just part of the game? Well, what about killing a thief? Not a low-rate thief, a major thief. Someone who stolen millions. Someone who stole money from someone who needed it for life-saving procedures. Because of that theft, that person who got stolen from died. Then is the thief a killer? Can the killer kill the thief? And what if the person who needed that procedure couldn't have been saved by a rich acquaintance, but could have been saved by a rich acquaintance, but the acquaintance didn't pay for the surgery because they wanted the first person to die? Then is it morally permissible to kill the rich dude? I don't fucking know. It depends. Context and all. The code changes on a case-by-case basis. It doesn't seem like a solid foundation. I'm not creating like a legal system, yo. I'm just talking about... I haven't really thought out this philosophy. Have you? You haven't really thought out this philosophy, have you? No, as a matter of fact, I haven't. Do I have to? Do people who have to write out papers on what they want to believe? Or can they just believe what they feel's right? Hey, look, you're the one who brought up this conversation. I'm not saying you're wrong to believe whatever you're believing in. I'm just giving my 2 cents. Right. Felt like Krish and I were getting into a more pointless arguments as of late. That probably wasn't a good sign. Maybe something to look into before too long. But it couldn't be helped. Regardless, we've been wasting too much time. We can pick the discussion up another time. We're not creeping around the forest in the dead of night for fun, you know. You haven't forgotten what we came here to do, have you? No. What do you take me for? But also, quick refresher? I sighed. Hey, you didn't explain it that well. I almost let Krish do this by themselves. I was this close. Jesus. Okay, calm down. You're right. For now, all we're trying to do is startle this house's owner. For a good reason? Yeah. Probably. I don't like your tone of voice. Can we just get to it already? Alright. What do you want me to do? Just look for now. Stay here. Before we start, I've got something I need to set up. Alright. And just like that, I walked away, toward the house. I approached the front porch. There were no cameras, right? I checked for them ahead of time. Couldn't find anything. But maybe I missed something. No, I was being paranoid. No cameras. And right now, it was late enough that there shouldn't be any chance that some homeowner might see through a window or some shit. I should be fine. I went right up to the front steps and bent down. I took out a plastic bag from my pocket. Then gingerly with a rag, I reached into the plastic bag and placed a pre-made note on the wooden porch. It was paper taken from a common store. The message was written in letters, clipped out from various newspapers. Cliché, I know, but it's cliché for a reason. The letter was suitably vague and threatening. I figured the more details I put, the worse it'd be. Best to keep things general. Dearest Tyrant, I hope this note finds you in bad health. But because injustice reigns, I doubt that to be the case. How does it feel? Living life good while the rest suffer? How does it feel wearing a smiling face while holding a knife behind your back? How does it feel being a sinner? It is sad, so sad, but it turns out you can't live the way you have forever. Eventually your crimes will hurt the wrong person. Me. This time you've gone too far. You forced my hand. You've plunged me into hell. So I'll do the same to you. Bring you to where you belong. This is just the beginning. Do struggle. I like to be entertained. Love, the devil you don't. Is it a little much? I don't know, I kinda liked it. I thought the last bit was a nice little touch. When you throw in vague specificities like that, people tend to fill in the blanks. Maybe it was a little too much. Fish might have been the better author choice, being an aspiring writer and all, but I wasn't looking to make a masterpiece in threatening letters. I was trying to get a blunt point across. I made my way back over to Krish. Okay, now we're ready to begin. Cool. What does that mean exactly? Let's just try smashing some windows. Maybe do some vague whooping and hollering. Whooping and hollering? I don't know, I'm just saying we should be intimidating. Alright, I can do intimidating. I somewhat doubt it, but let's just get to work. Krish leaned down and picked up a rock. Don't get your fingerprints on it. Oh, right. Sorry, new at this. So am I. Do I need to rub it in? They pulled a bag out of their pockets and picked up a rock. I did the same. We exchanged a look, and then simultaneously both sent rocks flying through the nearest window. Krish began letting out a low-pitched hollering, and I joined in with them. We ran over to the next window and sent another rock. This is kind of fun. Window to window we went, sending rocks crashing. I tried seeing how fast I could get from one window to another. Despite their initial hesitations, Krish also got into it pretty soon. Okay, and stop. Just as soon as we got into this, we came to a stop. We went quiet, and with my hand signal, we retreated back into the woods. We done our part. No fucking way the homeowner didn't hear that. Continuing like this would increase the risk of us getting caught. But still, I wanted to get a good look at the front of the house. See if my note was effective. I waved Krish to follow me and circled around the back to the front. We were pretty far from into the woods. It was dark. There was cover. We'd be fine. Now let's see you. Right on time, Governor Aja made her way to the front door. All things considered, she was looking pretty composed. Miffed, if anything. But there was a bit of fear. Hopefully enough. She quickly noticed the note and scanned through it. I wanted to see a reaction. It was vague confusion? Suppose that was reasonable enough. Not the best case scenario, though. She looked around some, hoping to see whoever left the note. Of course, this was a pointless endeavour. She probably knew this as well. Finally, with a dejected look, she retreated back into the house. Okay. That went about as well as could be hoped. Now we wait. Right. Because... But you really didn't listen to anything I said. You have a habit of speaking softly, Vels. Especially when others are around. Then ask me to repeat shit. I knew you'd just explain it again when we got here. That shouldn't be... Whatever. If everything goes right, what we did should have scared Aisha somewhat. And apparently because of that, some guy should be arriving here soon. That's why we made that mess in the first place. Right. And so, why do we care about this again? Because I don't really like the idea of messing with the governor without a really good reason. Well, I don't know if it's a really good reason, but it's a job. For who? This greasy gambler dude named Locke. Pretty sure you wouldn't know him. You don't know that. I know a lot of people in this city. I mean, sure. Do you know a gambler named Locke? No? Okay then. How do you? It was a fluke. The guy was getting harassed by these drunk punks. They were mad at some bet that happened. I stepped in, saved his ass. He appreciated it. Said he saw potential in me. Said he could use someone with my skills, whatever that means. Gave me his number. Told me to call him sometime if I wanted a job. I ended up calling it at some point on a whim more than anything. Then the other day he called me. Told me he needed some contract work. He explained this plan to screw with Governor Aja, the one we're doing right now. Offered decent cash for it. So you're just harassing people for cash? The way the guy explained it, this is a weird form of self-defense. And honestly, I wouldn't doubt it. Besides, it's not like we had anything else going on. Krish didn't say anything. They just looked at me. They clearly had something on their mind, but they weren't saying anything. Well, that was fine. I could wait in silence. Krish was always the one who spoke up first. What? Vals. You called Locke before the mess with the duets began, right? Right. Been a bit busy since then. So then, if he has your number, then it's the same phone as back then. Right. You had your phone on you when we were ambushed by the duets. I know that. And I'm pretty sure you never had an opportunity to trash it. But you told me to get rid of my phone. You said I could get tracked. I mean, I threw it out of the car. I didn't tell you to do that. It was implied. I threw it out and you kept yours? Where's the fairness in that? Damn, Krish really was a lot more clever than I gave him credit for. They could track your phone. They didn't have the slightest lead on who I am. And why is that? Because I'm a non-entity. We went over this, Krish. They don't know me. I don't know you. Keep it down. Whoa, this is more serious than I gave it credit for. Krish, what are you saying? You know me. No, I don't. I don't know where you live. I don't know what you do most of the time. I don't know what's up with your parents, if you have any siblings, where you moved from. I don't know any of that. Those are just, details. Details? They're fucking fundamental parts of your life, Vals. We were on the run from criminals, and you still couldn't open up about them. It's like, fuck. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you, Vals? Seriously? Krish began to walk away, head hung low. They were shaking it like they couldn't quite believe things. I tried following them, making sure they hadn't got too far away. And then all of a sudden, they turned to a nearby tree and they slammed their fist into it. Fuck! A look of rage consumed Krish's face. For once I was legitimately speechless. I hadn't seen them like this before. Now truly, truly pissed off. All I could do was look on, dismayed. Fuck. Seriously, Vels? Why? What's the problem? Why can't you confide in me? You look surprised at me. You know, I know we like to keep things light. We hung out to just, shoot the shit. Hung out before all this started, that is. But we kept it light. Maybe you thought since I was all smiley and shit that I was just living a casual, carefree life. You felt the need to always correct me on my ideas of becoming a writer. As though it wasn't painfully aware that I'm not cut out for it. Krish, I was never... Do you think I got into this mess for fun? That I was an idiot for trying to organize the duet thing? Look, okay, yeah, maybe I fucked up by not thinking things through properly. I'll take the blame right there. But I didn't do that on a whim, Vels. I didn't have it easy before now. I've never had it easy, goddamn. I mean, you know me, Vels. As close to the chest as you may keep it, I've never hesitated to open up to you about my past or shit. Do you really think I had it easy growing up here? Do you think I didn't fucking grapple all the time with my class? My race? Fuck, my gender? Panthea might be a diverse group, but it means it's just got a diverse group of assholes. I mean, fuck, even my dad. He tries, he supports me and stuff, but he's never really gotten it either. All my life I've had to deal with so much shit, and you know what? I could fucking handle it, because I'm tough. Tougher than most of these fuckers that crowd the city. Be it the gangsters or bigots or assholes, none of them are shit. I made it my mission day one, not to let them get to me. I kept my head up, kept on smiling. Was a positive, funny, cool baller nobody could talk shit about. Speaking to the people, friend to all, that's me, Krish Tavaki. Even if it's dumb, I'll reach out to help. Even if it's really fucking dumb on my part. But it's not like things didn't still get to me. It's not like just because I faced all this shit with a smile, it doesn't weigh on me every goddamn day. Krish, you know what, Vels? You know why I tell you this? You know why it stings? Because I thought you understood me, Vels. I wanted you to understand me. Even when we first met, I thought you were really cool. And the more I got to know you, the more I felt that deep down, we were similar. I know a lot of people, sure. They're nice enough. But they don't really get me, none of them could. But I thought, I wanted you to get me. I wanted us to be close. I wanted one goddamn person in the city I could really rely on. You can rely on me, Krish. Clearly not. I mean, right? I thought we were friends. But to be friends, that understanding I was talking about has to be a two-way street. I mean, I was fine doing most of the talking because I thought you were just, shy or some shit. If you still can't open up to me at all, then were you always just uninterested? No, Krish, I wasn't faking anything. Then why don't you tell me anything? I'm asking you who you are, right now, friend to friend. And you can't answer. I had to say something. I couldn't leave that unanswered. I couldn't. I didn't kid myself into thinking I was some sort of great person, but after all that, I owed Krish something. It wasn't something I often liked to do, but I decided to recount the turning point in my life. I wasn't born in Panthea. Yeah. Pretty obvious, Vels. Why are you bringing that up? I took a deep breath in. Keep calm. I grew up in a reasonably nice city. Wasn't rich, but definitely wasn't poor. I had a nice family. Only child, which I appreciate. My parents were nice folk, worked honest jobs. Went to school, had a couple of acquaintances, a really good friend. I did decently at school too, if you'd believe it. There's a version of me that actually grows up and goes to college. Maybe becomes like a science professor or some shit. Can you imagine that? Me? An actual professor or something? Yeah, weirdly enough, I sort of can. Krish is a lot less talkative now. They clearly recognised at this point that I was actually opening up. Honestly, that would probably never happen. Even in the best of circumstances, I don't think a boring life like that is for me. But I could have been something worthwhile. Don't say that. You're worthwhile. Maybe. Maybe you're right. Sometimes I question that. But lamenting on that, on what ifs, is a pretty worthless practice. Hypothesizing about possible futures, that's fodder for people with too much time on their hands. Shit for dreamers that don't get things done. Like it or not, there's only one life. And mine didn't end up that way. I still remember that night, waiting for my dad to come back home, unaware. It took me a while to realize something was wrong. And when I heard the news, I thought it was a joke. Surely that couldn't be right. Why would my dad be dead? It wasn't... I think on some level, you're still just a kid until you come face to face with your first genuine tragedy. A tragedy that thoroughly makes you confront the arbitrariness and cruelty that life has to offer you. Before that point, you go through being aware that death and true despair are things that can occur to a person, but it's more of a conceptual understanding. and you encounter it firsthand, you change. By that metric, there are plenty of adults who get well into their 30s and still never really having to really grow up this way. And there are some kids who grow up far sooner than they should have to. And you're one of those kids. Very astute, Krish. Yes, my dad's death fucked me up quite badly. I went through every stage of grief, and I lingered in each one for longer than the last. Denial and bargaining didn't last that long, in the wider scope of things, but anger, oh, I had anger to spare. I'd have been much more fine if it was an accident, natural cause of death, but you know how my dad died? I think we'll get a real kick out of this. I don't think I will. Stray shot and a spat of gang violence. Yeah, that's right. Unintended casualty in another person's war. At least that's what the police thought. Only problem was the police were unable to identify any suspects. They couldn't go after anybody. Too hard a case, I guess. Of course, I had other ideas why they weren't pressing charges, but no proof to back it up. The bottom line was, I was told pretty clearly that my dad's killer wasn't going to be brought to justice anytime soon. They just get to walk away. Wouldn't pay the price. Can you guess how that made me feel? Furious? Furious? No, I don't think that's quite right. Furious doesn't paint the right picture. It implies I was raging, ready to lash out at anyone and anything. That I was blinded by emotions. No, what overtook me was cold anger. A far more dangerous one. Fury may get people to dangerously lash out, but a cold anger is the thing you should really worry about. It's probably not a great sign that I default to cold anger, all things considered. It says horrible things about my character. But that's what happened. I was overcome with an icy cold anger, a determination to find the one responsible, and then to get even. I hired a private investigator to look into the case. A good one. And in the meantime I trained. Physically, that is. If you've ever wondered why I was a good fighter, well, you have my dad's killer to thank. Day and night, every free second I had, I was on an insane training regimen. You could say a lot about me, but I'm nothing if not determined. Before this point, I never really saw the need for violence. I thought it crass, almost beneath me, if that makes any sense. It was a dumb philosophy, a senseless one. Everything has a place in life. So I got fit. I learned how to fight. I was a quick study. Guess I must be a natural or something. And I bided my time. And eventually the private investigator found out who was responsible for my dad's death, and well, it's pretty obvious, huh? I stalked him. I set up the perfect situation, and I ambushed him. He was with 3 of his friends, and I was alone. But it was still an easy fight. I had the element of surprise, and they were just amateurs. Kids not much older than me. Turns out the killer was the son of a leader of a prominent gang that had infested the city for years. He was dicking around trying to prove himself just as big and bad as a gang leader's son ought to be. And then, I don't know the specifics of what went down, and I don't care. I knew the outcome, and that was enough. After thoroughly beating and scattering his little entourage, it was just me and the bastard in an empty room. He got on his knees apologizing, crying, pissing his pants. It was honestly pathetic. And what did you do after that? I did exactly what I trained for. I beat him. I hit him over and over and over. Pulled some truly brutal moves on him. Beat him half to death. Let me be clear, I don't approve of how I handled things back then. I was younger, dumber, and filled with rage. But then again, maybe I haven't grown up all that much. Because it's not like I exactly regret what I did to the little punk. Honestly, considering what happened next, maybe I should have killed him. Might have been for the best. Killed him? Wait, what happened next? Think, Krish. If the story just ended there, it wouldn't exactly explain how I got to this point in my life, now would it? That's... Oh, come on, Krish. You're pretty smart deep down. You should be able to guess what happens next. I've given you all the clues you need. If you did all that to a gang leader's son, and didn't finish the job... I thought myself pretty sharp, but clearly not sharp enough, because it didn't account for the very obvious next step. That said gang wouldn't let this insult pass. They went and got vengeance. Vengeance in the form of my mum. What? Oh, don't get me wrong, they tried to go for me too. I just managed to get away. But my poor mum? My mother who never did anything wrong? Who instead of turning to vengeance like me, retreated to grief after the news. Yeah, she ended up paying for my mistakes. My dad's death, it was a tragic accident that couldn't have been avoided. But my mum's, that one's all on me. Vals. It's almost funny how stupid I was. See, this is what I mean when I say I'm worthless. My family was ripped apart from me, and it was all my fault. You can't say that. It was your fault. It wasn't your fault. You didn't know that they'd do that. But I should have. I had to hold back a genuine choke there. Damn it. Was I seriously getting emotional now? I thought I was past this. Fuck. This is why I didn't like reminiscing like this. This is why I preferred to keep moving forwards. But if this is what I needed to keep Krish content, then it had to be done. Anyways, yeah. I am sorry, that I'm more closed off. I've always kind of been a private person. I mean, I said I had friends or whatever, but I've always kind of, done things by myself. And my personal life, my personal history, it's all stuff I don't really like to think about. You say you like hanging out with me because you think I understand you, and I do. But honestly, I like hanging out with you because it helps me forget myself. After the incident, I couldn't exactly stick around. It was still an active hit out for me. So I fled. And that's why you ended up in Panthea, right? I mean, more or less. Damn. So, what's happening with me in the duets? If I've been acting weird, it's probably because the whole thing hits a lot closer to home than maybe you would have realized. Chris, you're different from me. Your life hasn't been blown apart. I wouldn't feel right if I watched you follow in my footsteps. They're not... I don't think you'd follow them well. For once, I couldn't read Krish's expression. Made sense. I dropped a lot on them. The two of us just stood there in silence for a couple of moments. And after a bit, Krish spoke up. Bells, if you just told me all of this, I would have understood. Yeah, you probably would have, huh? That story is so horrible. I kind of feel bad. I mean, I'm standing here going off about my problems all the while you've been... No, you don't. I think you have some valid things to complain about, Krish. I mean, maybe, but still. I made you open up about something so painful in your past. You couldn't make me do shit. I felt like opening up to you. Well, thanks. It's good to know you trust me enough to say all that. Seeing as what we've gone through up until now, it'd probably be weird if I didn't, no? Yeah, probably. Still though, damn. That's some heavy shit, Vels. Elegantly put as always. So wait, I'm still confused about some points. Like, okay, that explains a lot, but what about where you've been staying? What have you been doing? What's that all about? Look, Krish, I know you think yourself tough, but it's really for the best if you let me handle things. It's gonna take a lot to get you out of the shit you're in, and I'm more than happy to do that. I want to do that, but it's best if I handled it myself. What? You can't do it, it's my issue. I should handle it myself, or at least help. See? This is what I was worried about. This is why I didn't want to tell you about all this. Because I can't have you doing the dangerous stuff on my behalf. And I'm telling you, you're not making me do it. I'm doing it. It's just better if I handle things, plain and simple. Better? How is it? Just then they shut up. We both shut up. In these supposedly silent woods, we both heard a loud sound. The sound of a car's engine. Quick, get to cover. I didn't need to tell Krish twice. They immediately ran over and hid behind a bush. For my part, I circled a tree and leaned right against it. After getting to their hiding spot, Krish looked to me in confusion. What are you doing? Shh! I put my finger to my mouth with urgency. The car was getting closer and closer. Any second now to be here. I had to be in a prime position to get the shot. There. The car was stopping. I heard the sound of somebody getting out. Footsteps, closer and closer, moving towards the door. Quickly I got a glance at the man. I saw their silhouette. Yeah, that's probably the guy. It was way too dark right now to get a proper look though. Need to wait. I hid back behind cover. Then I heard a knock. And I heard a door opening. I waited a beat, anticipating a nervous look around. Then slowly, I leaned back out of cover. Right there, Governor Aja was talking with a man right at the doorstep. The porch lights were now turned on. The two were close, clearly in a hushed conversation. I could see the man's side profile pretty clearly. This is what I was looking for. Very carefully, I took out my phone and moved to the camera app. I lined up the shot just right, and... got it. With the light on my phone at minimum brightness, I checked the shot. Awesome, awesome. I put the phone back in my pocket. Then I hid right up against the tree. Now to just wait for when it's safe. Hopefully the first order she gave the man wasn't hunt around the house for the troublemakers. If that happened, I'd be really screwed. Didn't exactly have a natural escape hatch from here without clearly being seen. Worst comes to worst, I could just run. Probably could get away. Probably. With nothing else to do, I tried to listen in on Governor Aja and the mystery man's conversation the best I could. It's really hard to make out anything from this distance. Still, I tried my best to pick up what I could. Clear threat. Suspect's deal. None. Lock failure, revenge. Unlikely, no trace. Campaign? Juvenile prank. Possible, ungrateful. Civil, entitled, still annoyed. Annoying. These days soon change. Treat, legitimate threat. Action. Unnecessary, changed my mind. Definitely childish. No reason to advertise. If it, threat, something. Stay alert until future, then. Be safe. Stay guard, in case. Just for... Of the dozens of words exchanged between the two figures, only a couple actually managed to be somewhat... What's the word for legible, but for like hearing a word and understanding it? There's definitely a word for that. Coherent? There's a word for that, right? If not, there should be. Anyway, I couldn't hear much of shit, but through the bits I could pick up, I more or less deduced the general shape of the conversation. Not that it really mattered. I'd gotten what I came for. My next step was simply getting out of here undetected. Luckily for me, it looked like I'd have the opportunity. I heard the conversation die down, then the door opened, and then... silence. I waited for a few seconds before popping my head out. What I heard already told me the answer, but just in case, I checked to see if the car was still by Aisha's house. It was. Part of me wanted to run around and take a picture of the car's license plate as well. But to do that, I'd have to run across and into the open. It was an unnecessary risk for an unnecessary action. Best to cash out now. I walked over to the bush that Chris was hiding behind and tapped him on the shoulder. This whole time they'd just been in the fetal position, holding their breath. An effective method of hiding out, I couldn't deny them that. Are we cool now? Yeah. Come on, let's go. You got what we needed? Yep. Great. Good to hear. Although, do we really need the cash at the moment? We can just ask Polly for anything we need to buy. Just think of it as doing a good deed. Besides, I think it wouldn't hurt if we had a bit of cash of our own. Money not dependent on Polly's cooperation. You know, just in case. You're really an untrusting person, Vels. Indeed I am. Indeed I am. And so is Governor Aisha, apparently. Oh? I'm pretty sure that even though she's decided our stunt was nothing more than a prank, she has her mystery man staying with her at the house on guard. Huh. Well, it can't hurt, I guess. True, true. Point is, we're done here. Let's go back to Polly's house. Awesome. And just like that, we started making our way back. Despite feeling accomplished, there was a nagging part in the back of my brain. A part reminding myself that this wasn't really doing anything to help get Krish out of the situation they were stuck in. It was a reasonable thought to have. It didn't appear like there was any correlation. How could I know that far down the line, getting that picture would actually inadvertently lead to a solution of sorts to the root cause of Krish's problems? I found this enlightening. Most people are shaped more by our past than they care to admit. It's tragic, not something we like to think about. Weird, considering it's the time of our life we have by far the least control. And yet it is our earliest years that we have the largest ripples. When we're born, we are blank canvases. Sure, a palette might have already been selected for us, but our potential is still limitless. By the time we have some real agency, really know what's going on, the form of our painting is already finished. You really want to understand someone? A shortcut is figuring out their past. So I have to ask you, how do you feel about your former life? It was mediocre. Some of it was good, some of it was bad, I don't know. Let's go good. You did? Well, aren't you lucky? So then, this is a trick question, one that requires not just introspection, but an understanding of cause and effect. Still, I'll ask it. What in your past do you think most directly led to you becoming who you are now? My hobbies, I guess. Hobbies, huh? I can see it. What you practice early, you excel in later. Few chess grandmasters start in their 20s. With that in mind, if you had to choose between the two, would you consider your current life an embracing of your past or a rejection of it? Depends how far back you go, I suppose. Let's go with embracing. I see. You decided to play the hand you were dealt the best you could. A valiant option. Alright, so now that we've examined your past in more detail, how important is it to you? What would it take for you to completely give up on it? How much would you need for you to willingly sever yourself from the past, to erase all memories of it? A lot, I guess. A lot, huh? I think that's fine. People who understand the value of their past are surprisingly rare. Isn't it bad to be in that category? It isn't bad to be in that category. Okay. Sorry for this little diversion, and thanks for answering my questions. What about you? Me? My past? Sorry, I don't really have anything like that. As far as I can remember, I've always been me. Ever since I was born, I was like this. I wonder why. Only God knows. And with that, that was a nice, nearly half an hour one. That was just about perfect. Can we do this one again? Do we have a silver key? We do not. We're going to have to pick a different one. We'll continue one that we've already started though, because I want to try and stick on a path for a while, if you know what I mean. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for getting out for me, and I'll see you in the next one.